All right, start rolling. So 3, 2, and 1. Well, Mayor Mike, welcome back. Mayor's Monday here at WSAU, WSAU.com. The craziness is over.
It is.
Riverfront
For another year.
was over. It was a great time.
Yep.
Great music. Fireworks display. I know you talked it up. To me, it was kind of a letdown, but I think you were talking it up so much.
You're wrong.
That my expectations were up here. Nobody can see where I'm pointing.
No.
And they ended up right here. Again, nobody can see where I'm pointing.
Uh-huh. No, you're just wrong. I don't know. Maybe you had a bad vantage point.
Okay.
The fireworks were spectacular.
Yes.
And here we are, Holiday Monday, after the 4th of July weekend. You know, we're back to the downside of summer, right? After the 4th of July, that's kind of my thing, where you start dwindling off the summer, and before you know it, it's autumn. Autumn's my favorite time of the year, so that's something I look forward to. You got all the hunting seasons coming up, and the leaves change color, and the quiet serenity of sitting in the woods or whatever it happens to be for you. But we're on the downside. The days are getting shorter now.
Don't say that. Don't say that. As somebody from South Dakota, I will never get used to the fact that it gets dark sometimes by 4:30 up here.
Yeah.
I will never get used to it. I don't care how long I'm here, but
that is quite depressing.
It can be at times, but again, it's still,
it's okay.
We have Riverfront Rendezvous again. It's one of the great things about being here. Absolutely love
lots of time left
the celebration.
before
We've still got time to get outside and enjoy downtown Stevens Point. You've got you've had the downtown dining events, you've had downtown music events, and you've had a new attraction that you've actually I don't know if you want to say installed, because the attraction is already there, but you're doing something different with something that people don't normally come downtown for, which is a garbage can.
Sure, we call it Trash Canvas. And before I get into that, all those things that you mentioned about downtown, the relaxing of the open intoxicants so you can enjoy the live music every Wednesday night, Notes at Night, 11 amp on Thursday, those are all still going to continue. So come on down. Wednesday, Thursday night, we've got a couple of events on weekends, so Friday and Saturday are going to be packed. But one thing you'll see now, and we've been doing this for a couple of years, is those big concrete garbage cans that we have downtown.
They're not an attraction.
They weren't.
No.
But we came up with this idea, and working with Create Portage County, decided to have a little contest. So every year, we have people that are assigned to trash cans. You sign up, and you get to take some artistic liberty with those trash cans. Of course, within reason, good taste, no advertising. And you get a can, you prime it, and you paint it, and then we have a contest, and people vote to see which artistic rendering they like best. That's mostly done. There's still a little bit of work on a couple of them, I think. But if you want to see those, come downtown, take a look, and park and take a stroll downtown. It's only the trash cans that are downtown, and there's some really, really good work that you wouldn't normally see, especially on a trash can. Nobody thinks of that as an artistic canvas, but it works, and people like it, and it helps beautify the downtown, because now you're not looking at this ugly old trash can.
Yeah, and it's something that you wouldn't normally think of. So
right.
I got to ask you, who came up with this idea? Was this your idea?
It was definitely not my idea.
Okay.
Now, I don't know where exactly to give credit to, because there were several people that had talked about it, and I know other communities have done it. So I'm going to give some credit to Create Portage County, Greg Wright and his team over there. I'm going to give some credit to Mark Cordes in our Community Development Department, who I remember was involved in the project originally, but we've been doing this for 3 years now. I'm going to give myself a little bit of credit, because my office put up some money for the first year's prizes. But, a big part of my job is taking people with great ideas and then clearing the path so they can have their idea come to fruition.
Yeah, exactly. And there was another one of these ideas that you started last year. COVID kind of put a little bit of a hamper on it, but it still became a downtown attraction, and you're getting ready to roll it out again this year. Literally roll it out, because it's something that's very big and very hard to move.
Absolutely. So we have seen this in other areas. And again, I don't know exactly where the idea came from. I can guess it wasn't mine, but I certainly embraced it. Every once in a while, you'll see these free pianos on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or wherever. we got one last year, and I talked to a friend of mine who has a very artistic fiance, and she agreed to paint it up, and we installed it downtown, our first public installation of a piano, and it was a huge hit. Now, it's out in the elements. It's not designed to be there. The painting, the extra painting, weatherproofed it a little bit, but with the heat and the cool and the rain, it got out of tune relatively quickly. We only had it for, I don't know, maybe 2 months, and then we had to kind of throw it out because it was beyond repair. Well, we got another one, and we got it painted now and tuned, and this year we've got a little bit of a shelter put over it, so hopefully it'll last a little bit longer than it did last year. But that should be installed this week, now that Riverfront's over and we have some staff. It should be installed this week at what we call our Transit Depot stage downtown, and it's free and open to anybody who wants to play. And be courteous, let people take their turn if they want. I know a couple of times I was down there were people waiting to get on there and play. They really, really enjoyed it. So hopefully this is a tradition that'll continue as long as we keep getting donated pianos, donated time to paint it up. I think it's a great installation.
Yeah, because we should mention some of these things are, they sound like expensive things. Buying a piano is expensive. These are things that are donated to the city. You're not spending a whole lot of city resources on these, if anything at all. Yet you're getting a pretty good return on quality of life and community attractions downtown here.
Absolutely, and that's something that's important to note, because a lot of the cool things that happen in Stevens Point are volunteer based. Someone else comes up with the idea and says, "Hey, I'd like to do this," and it's those sorts of creative, innovative ideas that really kind of make Stevens Point stand out. The Creative Crosswalk was a great example. $250 for signs, and I still see people doing the silly walk downtown. The piano was another great one. Notes at Night, which is live music on the square Wednesday nights. That was the downtown businesses. They got together. They pay for the music. We put up some Edison lights. They're the kinds that look like there's a filament in them. The businesses bought them. We put them up. We have a lift truck, so we hung them up. We pay for the electricity, which is almost insignificant, and it just adds so much more to the downtown experience. And we're going to continue to do that, expanding wireless access and things like that down Main Street, and all sorts of other cool things, little things that make a difference in some of the other parts of town.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I love about what's going on right now down here in downtown Stevens Point. Again, I live up in Wausau. I've been known to come down here once every few months or so, leave $40 or $50 of my hard-earned money downtown just to take in what's going on down there. Visit the comic book store and kind of recharge and connect with some live music down here. It's great to see what's going on, and again, we hope that some of these ideas can continue to grow over time as well.
Yeah, and I fully expect that they will. We're on the downside of COVID. People are getting out. They want to go to these events. They want to do things. And what better environment than a place that has live music? You can walk along the riverfront, watch the sunset, grab a bite to eat, grab a drink, take a stroll down Main Street, do a little shopping. Almost anything you want to do can be done here in Stevens Point.
And that was 8.5 minutes before we even got to business. I like that because we do have some business to talk about.
Sure.
Housing and things like that. And this is, first off, congratulations on the new historic district.
Thank you.
Not far from where we're located.
No.
Right here, actually. And some of these houses down here on Church Street, I actually drive right by them on my way in. They do have a certain charm to them. And now that is recognized federally.
Yeah, and that was great. So, we have a fair amount of history in Stevens Point, just like most places have their certain histories. We had one historic district, the Matthias Mitchell Downtown District. Which is arguably our most historically significant area. But some of the architecture going east down Clark Street or Main Street coming west has some very unique homes that have been here for generations, often owned by the same family. So we have actually been recognized locally and by the state for a few years now. But most recently, the National Park Service has listed that area on the National Register of Historic Places. So now it's kind of official that the whole country recognizes this, and it opens up some opportunities for those homeowners or business owners, there's a couple of businesses in there, to be eligible for grants, historic preservation type grants. So if you need to rebuild some of the balcony on your home that had been deteriorated over the years, if you're in that historic district, that qualifies you now for some federal funding, and that would help some of the homeowners. Now, of course, there's not without its restrictions. You can't just tear it off and leave it because it's now deemed historic. So we want to preserve that. But that's really cool, and being recognized nationally by the National Park Service and the National Register of Historic Places is something that's pretty significant. So we can put that feather in our cap too.
Yeah, and again, it opens up that world of possibility for those homeowners if they do need to make some improvements. Of course, they have pretty restrictive guidelines, but as you mentioned, some of these houses have stayed in the same family, so they already want to make sure that they preserve that for generations to come.
Absolutely. And speaking of housing, you know, Stevens Point is always trying to fill the niches of the community. And you have everything. People, when they think of housing, they think of housing that they want. But it's really a full spectrum, from affordable, lower income type apartments or homes to starter homes for families or young people, to apartments where you want to live with your friends, or maybe you want to live alone, or a small family starting out, to single family homes where you're living in a yard and you've got kids that are playing in the yard, up to condos and townhomes and the whole gamut till you get to the higher end homes where you have a big yard and a very fancy house. You like having a big yard. That's housing. It's not just the niche that you want to see. So we've been trying to fill all of these niches, and we've been doing very well recently, taking into account our recent housing study. Well, I guess it's not that recent anymore, several years old, to fill our needs. So right now in the city of Stevens Point, we are working on projects from single family, new, pseudo-rural type lots in a subdivision, to affordable housing and rental conversion programs, so converting those rental properties into single-family homes. Our Rent Ready program, taking those who are underserved or at risk and showing them the ropes a little bit, kind of training them on how to be good tenants and responsible property owners, and covering that whole gamut. The convent up on Maria Drive, which had been, talk about historic, that was built in the early 1900s. And everybody knows where the convent is. However, over the years, the population has declined. And we're at the point now where it's basically empty. We've got a developer that's going to turn that into affordable homes, or apartments rather. Affordable apartments, keeping the facade, the historic nature intact. And then there's another phase to build some low income or affordable family houses as well. Excuse me. So that project is going to be moving along here very shortly. We've got a few other apartments going up in the city too, trying to address all of those needs.
And the convent project is one that I think a lot of people are going to find really interesting, because you mentioned there is history right there in that building. And again, staying with the historic theme, you're going to try and keep it that way, or the developer will try to keep it that way.
Which is really cool. So you really won't notice much of a difference from the outside. Again, a new parking lot, maybe some trees are gone, things are shined up a little bit more maybe, but they're keeping the historic structure intact. Inside, they'll be renovating it and converting it into apartments, but outside you won't notice much of a difference. That's the cool part.
Yeah, and do you know just exactly what the apartments are going to be then? Is it going to be, like you mentioned, starter apartments, somebody that's starting out, or the other end of the spectrum, the high end of apartments?
So it's going to be affordable, and I know affordable is kind of a catchphrase, but they're getting federal tax credits to do this. So they have federal guidelines they have to follow in regards to income and income requirements, limits and ceilings, floors, that sort of thing, for to have the apartment. So it's going to be affordable housing, which is generally accepted to be about 30% of your income. And that's just one piece of it. As I said, we've got other projects going on that cover other segments of this, but it'll open up a whole new neighborhood.
And timeline for the project then? Do you know when this is going to start and when we could maybe see new tenants in the building?
That's hard to say. Everything is kind of behind schedule now because of COVID. Trying to find labor and materials is challenging for almost everybody. So I'd hate to give you a timeline, but I would expect to see some progress very likely this year yet, seeing some progress, where an occupancy you might be looking at a little further out.
And that's, again, just the latest in what's been a lot of apartment housing projects here in the city. Anybody that's driven Division Street in the last 3 to 5 years, I think, has probably noticed a pretty big difference. And this is just development elsewhere in the city.
It is, and it's more than just apartments. We've got townhomes going up. We've got in the works for some single-family homes. We're really trying to cover that whole spectrum of housing needs.
Well, Mayor Mike, we always appreciate the time. Good luck with some of these projects. We'll look forward to chatting again and seeing how these go over the next few months.
Great. I appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by.